guys, Wayne from 101 Animation, and this video is about the mysterious exposure sheet. The one that everybody who's starting out gets very intimidated by. There's no reason to, and I'm going to explain it. You can see on the desktop, it's part of an exposure sheet. This is your basic exposure sheet. They do come in many different styles, different layouts, but this is your basic one. So here's what you got. You got part of the exposure sheet. It is just coming down here. What you do first is obviously you come up and it says animator. You put in your name, you being the animator, production here, which sequence, the scene number, the length, and then the number of the exposure sheets. You could get 4 or you could get 1 exposure sheet. We're just going to say 1 here. Now the thing I want you to understand is this part right here, length. And what they mean by that is how many feet of film footage, and it's always 16 frames per foot. So what that is, and on most of them you'll see a darker line right there, and this has been broken off into feet. And here we see the numeral 16, so that means we got 1, 2, 3 feet, and 2 frames. So there's 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 feet, and 2 frames right there. So what would we write right here? Here's what we put in. The length of it would be 3.2, and that represents 3 feet 2 frames. Okay, then after that you'll get notes up here sometimes you don't. It just matters who your director is. You'll get notes up here. It will say just character comes running in, and that's it. So what happens is that over here we're going to start from this side, the action side, and this will be the description of what the director puts in. Let's just say character runs in, stops, says hello, and then character runs out of scene. Now, different directors, though some of them want more control over it. For the most part, that's all they'll put in, and they leave it up to the animator with this given amount of time for you to animate in. So they'll usually do that, but sometimes directors, they'll put it in. They want the character to come into 1 foot and then says hello, and then looks screen left. They'll be a little bit more detailed, but you don't have to worry about that. If they do put that in there, you just follow the directions. Now, what we have here is the sound column right here. All these are columns, and this is the sound column. And let's say the character comes in and it says there's a track reader. There's somebody who reads the track. They read it and they listen to the hello, and it can change. If somebody goes hello, that's very quick, or they go hello, that's very slow. So that's why they need to read it. And we'll say that the hello starts right on frame 11, starts there, and then the H for the hello. He. Let's say that the he, and this is how they break it down. He is just head. That's just the sound, and it lasts for this many frames from there to there. And then the L for the double L will come in, put it there, and it will just come right there. And then the O at the very end is O. And they'll just put it in there. They don't need to spell it exactly correctly. What they actually do is they put the sound more, the phrasing of it, but the sound, because you can go hello, that's different than another accent goes hello, like that. So they put in that sound. But let's say right there, at this point, it just goes and it lasts to about here, and then the character zips off very quickly. Well, what we know is that the hello, he, starts on frame 11, and then it comes down, and then somewhere right there, they'll say frame 22 is where the he, and then the l is starting on 23, ends on 29, and then the O, 30, down to 43. So we know that we got to hit those marks. So that's where the dialogue is, right there. That's what they mean. Now we got our levels over here. You need to know it will tell you over here, if there's a zoom in, zoom out, it will tell you the field size. And they'll put that in there, and they'll tell you the field size, and you know that you got to be true to that field size, but they can change that around later on. So let's just focus on these levels right here. So what we have is 6 levels. Now this is the same thing. Think of the exposure sheet as the same thing as in your timeline if you're doing it digitally. You got your timeline up there, it gives you the frames, and you can import the sound and put it in there, and you'll see the exact same thing as what this exposure sheet is showing. And every one of these little squares right there represents a frame of film. That's why right up here, that means frame number. So what I usually do is I'll take one of these columns, and I will just start numbering them down in odd numbers. I'll go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, and 49. So there we go. If it's done on 2s, we got 1, 3, 5 down to 49. So let's say we got this, we'll have this little girl runs into the scene, and what they give you, when they give you the exposure sheet, they give you also the layout of what the background is going to look like, and they'll also give you so they're not poses to animate by, but they're the poses that give you the size reference of the scene. And they'll also give you over here, the camera, the rough idea of the field size if the camera zooms in or zooms out, and it will just show you the field size. It's something like this. Let's say that we got our basic 12 field right there, and the little girl runs in. She comes running in that direction, this way, and then she stops and says hello right here. And then she runs out, going out that direction. So the field size can start right here on a 12 field, but then it zooms in quickly, right here, and we'll say this is I don't know, 8 field, and it just shows you the camera move roughly to where it comes in. There to there, starts off 12 field to 8 field. And it comes in there, and then it could even pull back out, but we'll just keep it right here, and then she runs out. So you have a reference. So that is part of what you get when they give you the scene. They give you the exposure sheet. Now we're going to come back to these levels. So we got our BG level, and that's going to be the rough layout of a background. That would be something like, and it's just a layout to show you what the staging is going to be like when she comes running in. So you got all that, and you put it on your disc, and you just proceed from there. But so you put it all down, you listen to your soundtrack over and over, get familiar with it, and then what you do is we're going to say level 1. We already got our BG level, and that's going to be held all the way through, just like a digital background. It's going to be held all the way through, and then we got this level here, and I'll write up here, girl, for this level there, and she comes running in. And at this point, I know that this level now is going to represent all of the animation with the girl. So there she is. She comes in, and what I do is I've done my thumbnails and everything, and then I start to animate. And I'm thinking, okay, she's got to run in quickly, and at this point, she's got to stop right here because she's coming in, and if I want to, I can use the action column for myself, and I'll write, she runs in, stops somewhere around here, and then she says her line, and I'll say hello, right about there, roughly in there. So I know she's running in here, stops, says hello, right at this point, right there, says hello, really long, all the way down to this point, and then she runs off. So I'm looking at this, and I start animating it. I know I only got 10 frames to have her come in, so she zips in really quick. And I just start, I'll put G1. After I've done my animation, I know I got to do this within basically 9 drawings is what I got to do it, because I'm doing it on 2s. Side note, this probably be all done on 1s because it's such a quick action. And then she just comes in, and after I've done my animation, coming here, and I know at this point, at G11, I know that she's going to start the word hello. And it's right here at this point is G11, and she says he all the way through down to here, and it will be on G21, because I'm doing this at 2s at this point. It will be at G20. Let me zoom in here. This will help. So we're just looking at this column, and so I've done my animation of her running in all in here, and she's saying he, right? Am I on the right one? Yes. Hell, and she's saying that hello, and then I'm going to go into G23 for the L, the L. Now you've seen my video on doing dialogue. Check the window above my head if you want to check that out. And Judy will put it in there. And then right here, she's saying hello. And I know through here is where I got to focus on that, the L sound. 29, and then it stops right there. That is supposed to be 29. And then she goes into the O sound. So I know I've created this, and with the head, that mouse shape there, I'll just finish these off. And the reason I'm putting a G in front of each one is because we want to make sure when it goes to camera, they know what level to put the girl on. And she's going to be on level 1. And I'm going to explain to you quickly about what the other levels are. They're just different elements. So now we'll just proceed with this. G2, G3, G4. Because this is such a quick action, this is why you'll see on X sheets, why are some of them filled in completely? Because this means that everything is on ones here. For every drawing that you do, you got to write it in this column, which represents a frame of film. Let me continue. G9, G10. So we know that this is all on ones. We break into twos here. And then we'll just continue on with the dialogue. And we got it right here. We know that this is where she starts to go into the O sound. And so I'm just going to continue, and I'm going to, what I would do is I would start the O sound, even though the O is actually hitting on frame 30, I will put it on frame 29, because you never want to hit that change of shape, that sound. You never want to hit it after the sound. As far as dialogue and sound, check out my video as far as the way where to place the sound. Check out the window above. But you never want to hit the sound after the mark, or you want to hit it before. There's a school of thought you want to hit it 2 frames before. But anyway, so then right on this one right there, we're going to hit it right before the O sound, and then we just continue on here. 31, we finish up all these drawings. 33. To where she starts to run off, and I know she's starting to run off here. I have it indicated right here. I wrote run off, and now she starts to run off. I'm gonna switch back in to ones there, so I'm gonna do all these drawings. So now we've finished all of the first level of the girl. Now let's say that on a different level, we had a little dog that comes running in, and she comes running in front of her and just runs across the screen like so. And I'm just making this up as I go. And I'll just put it, I can put it right here or any of these levels, and that means that the background level is the first piece of artwork that is laid down on the table, the camera table. And then the next level on top of the background is the girl. And then the next one that's going to be on top of the girl is, we'll just make this level, the little dog, it comes running in and goes running in front of her. And it's going to be in front of her because that animation is going to be on top of the girl. but it's a tiny little dog that comes running, let's say screen right over here, and the little dog just comes running in like so, just all the way through here and comes across the screen. Comes across the screen, but he doesn't come into the scene until the director or I decided that the right here, I'll write from that point, dog runs through. And it starts right there. And look, I'm being rough over here. It's for me. And the dog comes running through and he just does it for 1 foot, 16 frames. So what we got here is all these frames on the dog level, which is level 3. There's nothing there. We don't put anything. And then what we do is we do our animation of the dog running through, and I'll just go, let me zoom in so we can see this clearly. Right in this section, what I'll do is I'll write the corresponding number. We got our frame numbers over here, and this will be, I'm going to call it dog D17, and we'll put all this on ones. So there we got our dog. It came in and all of that animation is done. Also, by the way, what you do is you put, because the dog is there, you put a X right there, and then the X goes all the way through to here. What that means, you're letting the camera department know. I mean, it's not done with cameras anymore. It's done digitally. Everything's done digitally. But that lets them know that there's nothing on this level until it hits right on frame 17. Then the dog, he came in, ran out, and you put an X down there. Lets the camera department know that there's nothing on that level. So now what we've done is the animator has done all these drawings, and basically the scene is done at this point too. Now, the other part of that gets confusing for people is they will see certain drawings that are circled, and what those drawings are is really for, this is just a quick simple way for me to describe what the levels and everything does. And what you do is, as if you're animating this, and let's say that you're working on a show that you're not doing all the drawings, you know, your assistant is going to be doing the drawings. And so what would happen is, let's say that I come in, what it is, let's say that there were certain parts in the dialogue where she says hello, and there were parts where I did the first key or breakdown, my drawing. What I do is I circle those, and I want on the head, let's say it just opens up from this point right to there, and I did this drawing, but they were straight in betweens. I will circle my keys and breakdowns, the drawings that I've done, circle those drawings, and then maybe in another color I would to let the assistant know that I want them to do, I'll write a chart on this drawing, and I want them to fill in these drawings here. So one way I can do it is I just come in and I put it in red, and they'll go back that will let them know that they have to do these in-betweens to fill it in, which is also, I'll quickly show you. So what I have is my two drawings here, and these are my two drawings that I have done, and that's just that H sound, but there's a little bit of movement. Her eyebrows come up and her mouth gets bigger. And what drawing this is right here. I could see it on the X sheet. That's why the X sheet's your friend, because it lets you know what frame number. It keeps everything organized. And this is G11. G11, it's circled and it's working into G21, and I'll have a chart like so, and I'll circle that, and then I got 13, 15, 17, 19, and this is my charts right there, and I'm letting the assistant know this is the drawings that they might have to do. So this will be G13, G15, G17, G19. And that's letting them know, working into G19 right here. That's letting them know. So that what I would do on the X sheet, a lot of times I could leave it blank, but most of the time what I personally would do is I would just put it in, let's say, red, and they would just, after they finished the drawings, they would put graphite over it and just so it's completed before it goes to the camera department. And there's G17 and G19. So that way I circled them, and the assistant will finish off those drawings. And that's why when you'll look at X sheets sometimes, and there will just be this gap of drawings in there. It's because of this system of letting the assistant fill in those drawings, but it's still the same thing. The drawings are all going to be completed before it goes to the camera department. It has to be completed because when the camera department gets the drawings, their job is not to figure out anything except what frame does the drawings fall on. Here's their frame numbers over here. They look over here and they say, okay, it's G1 is we're starting off with the background. They know they put the background all the way through and continue on. And then as they're shooting the scene and they come down to this moment on frame 17, it says, oh, all of a sudden there's another level. They know that they got all the levels, all the artwork there, and what they do is they just put down this level on top, level 3 on top of level 1, which is on top of the background level. So that's basically the principle of it. Now I do want to tell you this, that this is very old school, what I'm showing you here, but I've had so many people ask me about it, and I understand it. I remember when I was first learning, I was so intimidated by the exposure sheet, because last thing in the world that I am is an accountant, and I was looking at it and all these numbers, and you just want to realize that the X sheet is like your timeline, doing it digitally, and it's actually your friend. It helps you out. It helps you to plan your scene out, where if you just started animating, let's say the little girl running in, but you put in way too many drawings, you made it twice as long or 3 times as long, it's not going to work with the scene because there's so many different types of animation. You'll have animation, for instance, Tex Avery, Warner Brothers cartoon, or very cartoony Roger Rabbit, where things zip in and out. You know, you can do it within this amount of frames. But if it was more of a serious film, like Sleeping Beauty, you know, they're not going to zip in and out like that. They'll do it more on their shorts. I hope this helps. I hope it makes sense. Judy says, don't forget, please, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, and if you really like it, subscribe. I always feel guilty about that. Anyway, that's it. Bye-bye.